Yes, so here with me, Gifty and Dopia. The show is The Pulse. We're talking about current affairs, talking about the news of today, and trying to get some analysis out of it. Earlier on, we brought you the story about the supporting staff of the National Service Secretariat, who say they are the group of National Service supporting staff who have come from all across the country together to hold a press conference. They represent those from all across the country, calling on, I don't know exactly who they're calling on, but they're making some wild allegations against the executive director of the National Service Secretariat, Mr. White. They say that he's acted unfairly and is taking unilateral decisions which they believe are not in the interest of the state. I've got on the telephone line with me now the National Service Secretariat's PRO, Ambrose Entia Jr., who will help us, in responding to some of the allegations that the National Service Secretariat supporting staff have raised. Hello, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me, my sister.
I don't know if the supporting staff, the action of the supporting staff of the National Service Secretariat has come to your attention, has it?
Yes, it has come to my attention.
Okay, so you've heard what they're saying. They say that you're recruiting people and they have evidence to the effect that the people you're recruiting are campaign volunteers, people who volunteer to be on the campaign trail of the NDC, and they are saying it's in very bad taste because some of them have been casual staff for some time and they've got some promises of being made permanent staff. That hasn't happened. How do you react to that, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I am not too sure whether there are any members of those who have been employed or who have been recruited as having been members of any campaign team. I don't know about that.
Okay.
The truth of the matter is that some adverts were floated in the newspapers for people to apply, and a number of young Ghanaians did apply. About 35 or so of people who have been engaged to hold the fort at the various regional and district secretariats got through the recruitment processes and then got actually recruited. Again, I am not sure about the other allegation that things were done unilaterally. What I know is that legally, the Act of National Service Scheme Act 426 of 1980, which Section 16, mandates the board to engage such persons as the board may deem necessary for the day-to-day running of the scheme. So the board actually, at one of its meetings, approved the kind of recruitment that have been made so far. As to whether or not this was done unilaterally by one person is something that I will not be able to speak to, because what I know is that, and of course if you check the board minutes, it will show that the board actually gave approval for the recruitment to be done. That is what I can say legally about the process.
So the board gave approval, but has the HR been forced to proceed on leave?
Come again, please.
Has the HR been forced to proceed on leave?
I don't think so that she's been forced to, as it were. I am aware that the HR had taken her leave, her annual leave.
Okay.
And at the time of recruitment, she was not in the office. In fact, she had been in the office up to a certain point. But when the recruitment actually took place, and when letters were written for the applicants or the successful applicants to come for their letters, she was on leave. I am not too sure whether she was forced to go on leave, but to the best of my knowledge, she had actually applied to take her leave just around that time.
Because that's the allegation that's been made by the National Service. But whether the National Service Secretariat supporting staff is quite a mouthful, pardon me for that, but they're saying that you've made some assurances, that the Secretariat has made some assurances to them. These are people who have already been working in the system, and they've had some, because of the investigation that was ongoing, some of them were excused, but then they had the assurances that they would be reinstated. What is happening to that arrangement?
Yes, I do acknowledge the fact that yes, these young people, ladies and gentlemen, have actually held the fort. Some 1 year, some 2 years, some even up to 3 years. Again, unless of course they would point to the fact that that kind of assurance has been given by specific persons. As a corporate body, I'm not sure, and I have no idea as to the kind of promise, unless, again, as I said, they'll be able to say that, well, this person or that person actually gave me that promise that I will be considered for the recruitment. What I know is that when the adverts were floated, of course, the adverts were floated through my department, and I am aware that people applied. Some of them did apply, some of them went through, but I can say that a large majority of them were not able to go through. That's why I indicated earlier that at least I'm aware of about 35 of them who went through the process successfully. So as to whether or not there was a promise by anybody, I will not be able to confirm that unless they can prove otherwise.
But these are people who have worked in the system already. What was the basis of their disqualification from the system so that you have to recruit new people from outside and people who have done national service for just a year?
Yes, unfortunately, I wasn't on the panel for the interview for selection, and I will not be able to talk about the criteria used by the company or the panel that actually interviewed them and they selected. But what I know is that from the adverts that were floated, people were supposed to have applied, having satisfied certain conditions, that you must have certain qualifications like a degree or HND, depending on the area that you are applying to serve within, and then you should have had your national service and all that. So those were the criteria used by the institution as per the adverts that we floated. So that's something that 35 of them I know went through.
35 of the supporting staff.
Exactly, across the country.
Okay, but then you mentioned the company that's, conducting this recruitment process. They are alleging that 100,000 cedis had been paid to this company, this private company, but they're saying that they've got an HR that could have carried out this process. But then they're saying the National Service Secretariat has paid 100,000 cedis to a private firm to do this, despite an injunction that was put on this contract. How do you react to that as well, sir?
Yes, that is correct. I am aware that company was contracted and an amount of 100,000 Ghana cedis was paid. A staff of the scheme had actually petitioned the Public Service Commission to have the processes stalled. However, the report I got formally was that by the time the letter came for the processes to be stopped, the interview had actually been completed.
Wow.
So exactly, that was the report I had formally.
But exactly what work did they do? What company is this, by the way, sir?
My sister, I have already indicated to you that I was not on the panel, so I will not be able to tell you exactly what they did.
I understand you, sir.
I'm coming. The company had been contracted to go through the process of recruitment. Anybody who knows the process, it's like after the adverts, all the applications will go to the company through a particular address. They will go through all of them.
Right.
And then they will invite the eligible applicants and then conduct the interviews accordingly and then select. What the scheme did was to wait for the company to inform us formally that these are the people who have actually gone through the process.
Now, what I wanted to find out, I'm sorry to cut you there, but what I wanted to find out, sir, is to find out what the name of this company, because I find it a bit curious, and you've got to understand this, that as the person who's speaking for the NSS, that you do not know this company that was recruited to do this.
No, sorry. Okay. I didn't say I did not know the company that was recruited.
Okay, I'm asking for the name of the company,
sir.
No,
it is Zomelo and Associates Company Limited.
Zomelo and Associates Company Limited.
Sure. And so I'm not sure you asked of the name.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would have provided immediately. Yes.
I guess it wasn't well communicated. But then again, what is the magnitude of work they did that should warrant 100,000 cedis? And within what time frame were they supposed to be doing this work that the HR could have done?
No, my sister, you see,
Yeah.
once the contract was outsourced, I guess that it will be very difficult for me to know exactly what they would do, because the thing was given to an outside company.
Wow.
And everything was left to them. They have contacted them. They have gone into some agreement. Some amount of money should be paid to them. And that was it. What the institution was waiting for was for them to finish with the project or the program and then give us the details or the final report.
Okay. So it was outsourced. Why did HR? Why did the HR not do this? The HR department, which is being paid, why did they not take this up, sir?
Well, that is why I've already explained that the board had already given the approval as to what went into that. I believe that we will want to understand the system this way.
Okay.
That if the board had the mandate through a legal means to do so, then the board should be answering some specific questions with regard to that one. I am giving you exactly what has happened,
okay,
and I can understand that yes, there is an HR department for the scheme, but again, I would want to know perhaps some kind of education,
okay,
whether or not a public institution will have that legal mandate to outsource for such a program or not. That one I cannot talk about in terms of what the laws of the land allow or otherwise.
Well, you could have the legal mandates, but the questions that a lot of Ghanaians who are funding the Secretariat will be asking, will be curious to know, is whether or not we have not paid people to do the same job already that we're giving it out to another person to do for 100,000 cities, if you get the point I'm making.
Exactly, and that is the answer I've already provided. That, you see, the fact that the HR department is there, that is correct. I agree with you. And I'm saying that the board has given this to somebody as an outsourced program.
But we don't know the reason.
I'm coming, please. I'm saying that I do not know whether there is any legality as to whether or not the board could do that if we still have a department that should handle that program.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying I'm only giving you the answers to the specific questions you are asking. As to the morality or otherwise of it, I will not be in a position to state because I am not a board. I'm only giving you what has actually happened.
Right. So it basically means that we can't get the answers now. It means that we cannot know the reason why the board decided to outsource this particular work, if I'm correct.
No, I'm saying that the board gave approval based on a request that was made by the executive director that this is what must be done.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, that the number of people who are going to apply, the information was that we needed an outside team so that they could have the capacity to handle that. And that, by inference, the department could not have that capacity to handle that large number of people who will be applying. So then the board had to approve for that thing to be done.
Okay. Well, a very big thank you to you, sir, for your time. That is Ambrose Encha Jr., who is PRO for the National Service Secretariat there, trying to help us understand the issues surrounding recruitment that's ongoing at the National Service Secretariat. Well, what we understand is that the group, the aggrieved supporting staff of NSS, that's the name of the group, making some wild allegations. They say that Mr. Kwesa White, who has been acting unfairly and taking unilateral decisions, he says that they have evidence to prove that campaign volunteers for the NDC are being recruited. That's what they're saying. They're saying that the HR has been forced to proceed on leave, and they're saying that 100,000 cedi contract has been awarded to a private firm to undertake this recruitment process. The PRO for the NSS tells us that it is called, the company's name is Zumelo and Associates. I believe that this is a developing story, and we will follow it up to bring you some more details on it.